What's up, y'all? This is Brave, and I'm back to review Tyler Perry's Sistas. Yes, this is episode 10 as well as episode 11 all together in one review because I kind of missed doing a review last week because I was quite busy getting ready for the holiday season. And I must say happy holidays to everyone who is watching this video. So let's go ahead and jump into episode 10 before we talk about the latest episode. So y'all already know we are starting off with Sabrina and Danny. They are still in that room talking, and of course, Sabrina is stressed out. So Sabrina is extremely stressed out, even though she doesn't want the ladies to call her mom. Which I'm just like, one thing about sisters that annoys me is that none of them have sisters. They ain't got cousins. They don't have nobody else to contact but each other, and I find that to be so weird. Like, Karen is the only one who has a mother. Nobody got a daddy. Nobody has, younger siblings that just pop up on them. Like, I think it's so weird, especially the whole, let's not call my family because my mom has a heart condition. Like, girl, maybe your mama can afford you a better lawyer than Andy. Because last time I checked, Andy was a divorce lawyer, and she can't really help you like that unless she goes to the big boss, which is Robin. But nonetheless, Andy comes rushing back in there because the prosecutor has already peeped that she ain't supposed to be there, and he knows that Danny is no type of paralegal nothing. So he's ready to, shut everything down. So they rush out of there, and while they are in the car, though, here's what gets me. Andy tells Danny that, she beat the prosecutor in a previous case against his previous wife. So he's taking this out on Sabrina. So when Danny told her, you should ask Robin for help, Andy's like, oh, well, he can't help me or whatever. I cracked up when Danny was like, she needs to do whatever she can to help Sabrina. Which I'm like, you know what? I absolutely agree. If you have to sleep with Robin to use his connections, why not? Because you're already doing all types of foul stuff. Andy is moving so crazy these past couple of episodes, I don't even understand what's going on anymore. But we're going to get into her madness a little bit later. But like I said, I agree with Danny. Andy, use what you got, girl. So, I forgot to mention, there was a dry scene of Aaron and Karen. I'm tired of this. I'm ready for this whole Aaron and Karen thing to be over. He out here claiming the baby as if, of course it's his baby. Next thing you know, because Karen hasn't found anything in his phone, because at first she thought there was something off with him. Now she can't find anything in his phone, so now everything's good with him. I'm like, this is weird. Like, I'm sorry. The Aaron and Karen situation is so strange to me. The fact that he just comes over, he makes dinner for her, he rubs her down, he's claiming the baby as his. I'm like, could you please go to work? Like, Aaron, go find you a hobby. Get something to do besides Karen. Nonetheless, I will say that she asked him about, what if this baby isn't yours? Like, what are you going to do then? Because, again, there's a probability it could be Zach's baby as well. Now, according to Aaron, he's fine with that because he's done this before. As we already know, his ex-wife's children were not his. Now, I'm trying to figure out, well, when did y'all get married? Because how the timeline don't add up for how old y'all are for you to have these grown stepkids, but y'all supposed to be married for like 15 years. You know what? Not even about to go there. Nonetheless, according to him, he doesn't have a problem with that because he's in love with Karen. Whatever. So let's jump on over to Fatima and Zach real quick. Fatima and Zach, they have this conversation, and I'm like, okay, this is something that definitely needed to be said because Tyler Perry is all over the place when it comes to joining Sistas and Fatima. So she talks about how, his baby mother, Heather, is working with Hayden, and they're building a case on Zach because he's going to have to pay some type of child support. Now, my question is, what type of lawyer is Hayden? Because unless he handles like paternity cases usually, Why is he working on the case? Like, what are his qualifications for this? The same way they just clocked Andy for not being a criminal attorney. Make it make sense. Nonetheless, so we had this discussion about marriage and the wedding and why she isn't wearing her ring and all this stuff. And that's because Fatima does not want to combine their incomes, because in the state of Georgia, what's, his debt becomes her debt and vice versa. And she does not want to have to pay his, baby mama's child support, which I absolutely understand. But I kind of wonder, how much money is Fatima making? And I'm not trying to be funny at all, because last time I checked, she was an assistant at a law firm. But we be acting like Fatima is balling harder than everybody on the cast. Because I'm just thinking, Zach is the one who came into a bunch of money, right? But like, Fatima made it sound like she's balling like crazy right now, as if it was her coming into a bunch of money. I'm like, well, how much is you making? Because you probably wouldn't have to put in that much of your income, would you? I mean, I don't really know how child support work like that, because I don't have kids and I don't have a baby daddy and all that. But yeah, how much money y'all think Fatima's sitting on? Because I am quite curious. But she also mentioned that, she just kind of want to keep everything under wraps when it comes to her wearing her engagement ring. Now, this was the first time that they had a conversation about why she doesn't wear her ring, right? And what got me was that, again, here we go mixing the Zatima and Sistas storyline. And I'm just like, okay, that is kind of weird if you're going to have her be engaged and wearing a ring around all her friends and all this stuff, versus her now being in Sistas and she never wears her ring. That's weird. But nonetheless, let's keep on moving, because this is Tyler's writing. So let's hop on over to the ladies going to Karen's house, right? So you have Andy and Sabrina. No, Andy and Danny. They go over to Karen's house or whatever. And of course, they finally have to tell her what's going on with Sabrina. One thing that I noticed, why was it that they didn't even knock on the door and Andy just opened up the door with her key? I'm sick and tired of these ladies opening up doors without like any type of knocking, without anything. They just barge into each other's homes, and it is so weird to me. Nonetheless, Aaron left. The ladies have a conversation. Oh, where's Sabrina? They finally have to let her know Sabrina's in jail. And it's crazy because Andy still didn't want to tell her that Sabrina was in jail. So she's like, concerned. She's asking if Robin can help. But Danny, of course, is the honest person and says, oh, well, him and Andy, they're not talking. So Andy has to clarify that, he told her no, which was true. Robin definitely told her that he could not help her. So Andy says that she got this and this was her top priority. Do y'all really think that, Sabrina is her top priority? Because I feel like, again, Andy is all over the place, especially these last couple of episodes. I would not exactly say that Sabrina's the top priority. She may be like number 3 on the roster, but definitely not the top priority. So the ladies want to know, why did Karen, call them over there? Because that's really the gist of what's supposed to be happening. Karen called them over there because she wanted to see them. But the crazy thing is that she gonna say, well, the circle isn't complete because Sabrina isn't here. Girl, bye. Like, shout out to Danny for being like, well, guess what? You can't have her because baby girl's locked up. Like, what are you doing? So she tells him that she has a doctor's appointment and how she wants them there. And I'm just like, wait a second. So you want your friends who have real jobs to drop what they're doing to come to your doctor's appointment? I promise I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be funny, but like, was your appointment during lunch hour? Because let's make it make sense. It doesn't make sense for Danny to call off lunch or take like an extended lunch, or, I don't even know if that's possible if you work at the airport. I don't know what her schedule's like, but in the real world, you can't just take off work because your friend got a doctor's appointment. Like, What is Karen talking about? So, anyway, she tells the ladies that she wants them to, show up to the appointment. And then she goes, because those letters that she wrote, they really helped her. And I'm like, Tyler, you dropped the ball, right? Tyler dropped the ball right here because I feel like there should have been another conversation that occurred where the ladies talked about, Kira, what did you say to each guy? Like, how did you express how you felt? Like, there should have been something said about what was said in the letters. I feel like that should have been a conversation, but we just breezed past it. And then the weirder thing about this is that basically she's accepting Aaron, and that even though it's only been, I promise y'all, like 2 days since that whole letter fiasco happened, like, now she's accepting him back in her house. Like, girl, a couple of days ago, you did not even want him to come by your house. You were so ready to kick him out. Actually, you was ready for him to go before he even cooked you food that day. So I'm trying to understand how these letters are making things so great with you and Aaron. And it's funny because Danny was like, okay, but what about if this is Zach's baby? Because that kind of changes the dynamic of everything. And Karen was basically trying to, uninvite her to the doctor's appointment. And I'm like, it was a valid question. And then what got me was that they were like, oh, Danny doesn't know how to behave. I'm like, Danny doesn't know how to behave? Stop acting like she's a 5-year-old child. I feel like it was definitely a valid question because it's like 1 minute ago you were all wrapped up in Zach. So now you're going to try to be all wrapped up in Aaron because you officially know you can't have Zach? Karen again, all over the place. So, Robin ends up calling Andy or whatever. Now, he says that he can make some calls, because he's the big man on campus. And I'm just like, all right, Robin, make the calls because Sabrina has got to get out of jail. Next thing you know, Andy clicks over. There's another call coming in. It's Gary. He over here feeling like Jodeci, so she invites him to come over. Y'all, we got a scene at the basketball court. I did not care for this scene. I was over this scene. Zach, he ended up showing up. He didn't speak to Gary because Gary was there and Aaron was there. Aaron approached Zach. I don't know why Aaron keeps trying to have conversations with Zach. I've never seen somebody blow up as much as Zach does towards Aaron. Like, at this point, Aaron, the man don't want to be your friend. He don't want to be your associate. He don't want to talk to you. He does not care if you are even in Karen's life. Why do you keep approaching him? So, next thing you know, Hayden shows up. I said, who invited him? Also, who wants Hayden on their team? The man is only 5'2". What can he really do on the court? Nonetheless, you have Zach and Hayden going back and forth. Zach decides to leave, and then Aaron approached him again, talking about they can be cordial. Bye, Aaron. Let it go. Just let it go. So Zach is going off about how he likes hostility and foolishness. Pure foolishness. Did not need this scene. Let me go ahead back to talk about these girls. So Danny had let Karen know that Andy was still dealing with Gary, right? This is the part that really bothered me. Andy basically threw it in Danny's face how she brought home a stray, aka Jonah, and how he spit on her and all these things. And I'm like, wait, you said that like to demean her? Like, you had no remorse. It's like, oh my gosh, can you believe that Danny invited this guy over and he completely turned and he like treated her horribly? Like, that was not the tone. The tone was very, Danny brought a stray home and he spit on her. Like, it was some vitriol in there. I'm just like, Andy, that was really cold. I did not appreciate that at all. But it was funny to me how Danny, she ended up mentioning something about Fatima. Oh, I remember. She was saying how Fatima said that she would be able to get off, if she actually did kill Jonah. And, of course, Karen is over here taking offense to that. And I'm like, it's crazy to me how Karen is still feeling some type of way about Fatima. Like, at this point, girl, you owe her an apology because you were completely out of line for all the things that you've done before. And on top of that, you gotta let this hurt go that you can't have Zach. Because Fatima ain't done nothing to you. And like Danny said, Fatima's a cool chick. Like, relax, Karen. So, let me go ahead and talk about this Preston and Danny situation. Let's jump on over to that. Y'all, so according to him, he did not ask Mindy to marry him. But he did put the ball back in Danny's court yet again. And it's frustrating me that he keeps putting that ball back in her court. Because at the end of the day, Preston, what you decide to do as far as who you want to marry, that's a decision for you to make. Don't make it based off of what Danny says if she wants you or not. That's not cool. So one thing that I did appreciate was that he said, he wants Danny to show him how to specifically love her. And I'm like, finally, you're saying those exact words so that she can comprehend them. So according to her, she doesn't know what she wants. And I'm like, clearly, that is the ongoing theme with Tyler Perry this entire show. It bothers me that all the ladies are all over the place right now. Like, y'all know how usually on TV shows, you may have a group of friends, right? And one will be in a relationship, one will be single and dating around, the other one may be married. That good mix that usually happens on TV shows, not with Tyler Perry. Literally, all of the sisters are all over the place unnecessarily. None of them don't know what they want. Andy does not know if she's coming or going. She does not know if she wants Gary or if she wants Robin. Then you have Danny. Danny did not know if she wanted Preston, if she wanted to date Logan, if she wanted to mess around with this guy Jonah. All over the place. What's her name? What's the other chick name? Sabrina. All over the place. She don't know if she want to date the African prince or if she want to play this game with Calvin. And then Karen is a whole ball of confusion because one minute she's falling for Aaron, next minute, oh, I'm so in love with Zach. How is that all four of these ladies are all over the place all at the same time? Tyler, give us all a break. Please. Like, somebody should be happy in a relationship at this point. Somebody. Anybody. But no, that's not what we get. Hell, these girls can't even get officially into a relationship. Because everybody's in a damn situationship, to be honest. Nonetheless, they say that they're going to, figure things out. Let me circle on back to Danny. They say they're going to figure things out, and they ended up going inside to her place. Now, I just want to know, Danny, did you clean the place up? Or like what? Because your place was a mess after Jonah was there. But, whatever. So, the episode ended up ending with Karen checking on Pam about if she turned the curlers off. I think she ended up leaving a set of curlers on. And then when she was going to go to the shop, Aaron ended up stopping her. Now, he done brought his sweaty ass over to her house after he done played basketball. Because those was the same clothes he had on. He did not go home, take a shower, no. He came back to her house talking about he gonna rub her body down. Like, no, you need to go rub a bar of soap and a wash rag, okay? How about that? Whatever. So, the episode actually ended with Andy. I almost forgot about this. The episode ended with Andy. She gets home. She's flirting with Gary. And to her surprise, Robin is sitting on the couch. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Andy, you are in for something, right? Now, of course, let's continue that conversation because now we're jumping into episode 11. So Gary is sitting there. Andy's trying to figure out what's going on. And Gary is like, well, when I got here, he was in the lobby. So I told him to come on up, because it must be so important, whatever he has to say, because it's late at night, blah, 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 right? So he's like, yeah, it is important. It's what we talked about earlier. So Gary is so funny to me because he literally feels like him and Andy are really in a relationship, and they're not. But at the same time, I blame Andy for that because she's over here playing a game of let me, keep him quiet. Let me keep messing around with him so that I can keep this penthouse. Like, girl, you are so materialistic. Nonetheless, Gary feels like whatever he had to say, he can say it in front of him. But Andy's like, oh no, actually, can you go in the bedroom? All right, so Gary ends up leaving, and Robin, he continues that, so here's the deal with Sabrina. I can probably help her get out of jail, but the bail will be $3 million in cash. $3 million in cash. I said, okay, I don't know much about bail. I really don't. But I thought you had to put down, 10%? Or ain't that how it works when people go to like the bail bonds or whatever? I thought it was like you put down 10% and then if the person doesn't show up to court, then you owe for the whole amount or something. Somebody let me know how bail works because ain't no way it's going to be $3 million in cash for Sabrina. I'm sorry. I don't understand. Let's make this make sense. I don't get it. But nonetheless, he asks Annie, do you have that kind of money? She says, no, I might have half of it, right? Okay, so you say you may have half. He said, well, she could get out, probably tomorrow morning if you come up with the money. Now, what got me was that instead of asking Gary, who has money, or here's where I was like, you know what? I understand that the thing said $3 million in cash, but technically Andy could have put up her penthouse. If we really want to be honest here, I'm pretty sure she could have put up the penthouse as collateral and she would have been okay. But no, that's not what happened. She ends up asking Robin if he can put it up for her or whatever. And he ends up agreeing, to put the money up for her. But I'm just like, Andy, you are playing a crazy game. I don't know how you're going to continue to balance between Gary and Robin. Something's going to have to give. Because at this point, you're going to possibly owe Robin money, as well as you're going to lose everything with Gary at some point if he decides to sue you to take this penthouse back. Like, girl, you play a serious game that ain't nobody trying to play with you. I'm sorry. I think Andy is crazy at this point. So, Robin, what I did respect about him was that he did apologize for showing up to her place and all that stuff. But it's also because Andy was avoiding him, not answering calls, all that stuff. So, he ends up leaving. Gary comes back or whatever, and what happened with them? I want to say nothing really happened. I think they were flirting with each other. Maybe he took a shower. I would hope so, considering he had been at the gym. At the basketball court or whatever. But yeah, that was pretty much that. Let's go ahead and move on. All right, so it is now the next day, and we are waking up with Danny and Preston. So it's crazy to me how her bed is pushed against the wall on one side, and that's the side that she's laying on. But baby girl has crawled out of bed at some point and done her hair and makeup. So that way when Preston wakes up, she's still looking flawless. I said, look at you still putting in the effort for Preston. Because I'm actually surprised that Danny even does this. So Preston is doing a lot of flirting with Danny. Because it does feel good to be back in her presence, and she feels the same, but you can tell that Danny is still guarded, because at one point he says, let's go shower together, and she's like, no, because I gotta get ready for work, and I feel like because of the Jonah situation, She is definitely pushing Preston away when it comes to like sexual stuff. But she does want him to stay over. And what got me was when she asked him to pay the rent. And he's like, yeah, I did that before for 3 months or whatever. And I'm like, well, yeah, you did live there for 3 months, so I don't see a problem. But nonetheless, Preston goes on to say that this was the first time that they have not slept together since they met. Keep in mind, they slept together when they first met each other that first night or whatever. And I'm just like, wait a second. You mean to tell me that you and Danny hooked up consistently all the time, every day? Really? I'm just surprised. But also, it does make me understand a little bit more about their relationship. Their whole relationship was technically based on sex. And honestly, almost all the relationships on this show are based on sex. Because Andy and her situation with Robin and Gary, technically based on sex. Same thing with, what's her name? What is her name? As much as I love them, Fatima and Zach, a lot of their relationship was based around sex. Like Tyler does not know how to write a normal couple situation. I've realized, like, if y'all just follow me real quick, like, it is strange to me that we don't see these people go out on dates. We don't really see them have, like, good moments together, like them just hanging out, chilling. But either we get conflict or they're hooking up. That's the only thing. That's the basis of a relationship in a Tyler Perry world. So when I hear that Danny and Preston, they have literally, all they've done is hooked up, I see why they have not gotten to know each other. He don't ever take her out on dates. She doesn't try to, understand him. Like, the whole relationship is based on sex. That's only going to get you so far. So, I'm just trying to follow along with what Tyler is writing. But it's just very interesting the way he created this Sistas world. Y'all know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, back to the story. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump on over to the fact that Preston goes to use the bathroom, right? Who cares about that? But his pants were on the bed because he threw them on the bed when he left to go to the bathroom. And Danny ends up touching the pockets. And y'all, there was a box, okay? A ring box in the pocket. And I'm like, wait a second. Was this the little raggedy ring you was going to give to Mindy? Or are you planning to propose to Danny? Because if you're planning to propose to Danny, this doesn't make sense, Tyler. Because if that's the case, you're going to give them the same treatment that you gave Fatima and Zach. To where, again, the whole relationship is based on them sleeping together, and that's pretty much it. But we going to be engaged. That doesn't make sense. But let's go ahead and move on. Alright, so now we have Zach and Fatima having this conversation. So first off, they talk about how Zach has ran into Hayden at the basketball court. Bryce has hooked him up with a lawyer so he can get this whole child support thing figured out. And they talk about how Fatima doesn't wear her ring. So she has to tell him, listen, the reason why I don't wear my rings to work is because I don't want Andy to know. Andy is a cool chick. However, once Andy knows that we're engaged, then that means that Karen knows that we're engaged. The girl is already acting up. So I'm not trying to give her no more ammunition to come at you. Which is very true. Because I feel like the moment that Karen finds out that, they're engaged, all hell gonna break loose. Alright, now Fatima did promise that, once they get the results of who's actually Karen's baby daddy, that's when she'll, feel comfortable saying that they're engaged. And I'm like, girl, it don't matter if Zach the daddy or if Aaron the daddy. Karen is still going to feel some type of way about Zach giving you the ring that she feels like she deserves. I don't care what y'all talking about. Karen is definitely going to feel some type of way. Now, speaking of Karen, we hop over with her and Aaron. I guess they were having breakfast or whatever. Nothing really happened in this scene besides the fact that she mentioned, the girls are going to go with her to the doctor and how, she wants to check in on Sabrina. And he's like, oh, what's going on with Sabrina? And she's like, oh, nothing for you to worry about, whatever. And he's like, oh, is there anything I can do? And she's like, nah. And I'm just like, girl, you should have told him to pray for her. Considering he the preacher man, couldn't we get some prayers out of Aaron? No? Okay. So he tells her that he's going to go to the office or whatever and then come back to see her later. And she's all good with this. Like, you would think that now her and Aaron are blooming into like this great relationship or something. And I'm like, you couldn't stand this man yesterday when he was bringing you food. Like, I'm trying to understand what is happening here. And then the fact that they exchanged I love yous before he left, I'm so confused. I'm like, Karen, so now you love this man? Even though when he popped up on you at your house, you was ready for him to go. Like, you literally got to the point where you decided to check his phone because of some stupid article. Like, make this make sense. Nonetheless, she ends up calling Andy, check in on her, see what's going on with the Sabrina situation. Andy lets her know she's going to go pick up Sabrina or whatever. Robin was able to help her. And, of course, they're going to meet up later for the doctor's appointment. So we also see that Gary was in the shower or whatever. He comes out, talk about how great last night was. Whoop-de-woo, who cares? The only important part about this conversation is the fact that he basically insinuated that Robin would no longer be Andy's boss. Like, he was basically saying, something's going to happen to Robin. So Andy was like, well, what did you mean by that? And of course, he's going to say nothing because he doesn't want to let her know that him and Hayden have something planned. But little does Gary know, Andy already knows that he has something up his sleeve. Now, I'm just hoping that at some point, she's going to have to tell Robin what's going on, especially considering he put up half the money for Sabrina. You know what I'm saying? All right, now let's hop on over to the scene where Karen is basically chastising, I'm about to say Angie, and that is her real name, Pam. She's chastising Pam because Pam ended up leaving one of the curlers on, but of course, everything is still intact. The curlers just happen to still be on. So she was like, Karen would kill me if, she knew that I did this. And that's when Karen had walked in. Here's the thing. I hate the way Karen speaks to Pam because Pam has been nothing but nice to Karen, especially considering all the things that, the ups and downs of Karen and her emotions when it comes to her love life, her having a baby, all these things. And Pam has been nothing but nice and supportive of her. But she still talks to Pam as if she's a child. And then she also talks to Pam as if she's like less than her. It's very strange to me because, like I said, Pam has taken this girl to the hospital. Pam has been ride or die for her when it comes to this baby situation. You know what I mean? And I honestly hate the way that Karen kind of takes things out on Pam in a way. Like, she doesn't talk to Andy like this. She doesn't really talk to the rest of the girls like this. But for some reason, when it comes to Pam, she honestly treats her the worst when Pam has been the rock for her. Because let's call a thing here. When it comes to this whole baby situation and all that, Pam has been more supportive. And she has been right there with Karen the whole step of the way when the girls haven't been. So I'm not understanding all this energy that Karen consistently gives Pam. All right, now let's hop on over to the courthouse because Andy and Danny are basically waiting to see if Sabrina is going to be getting out, right? So we learned that she made bail thanks to Robin, and they're just waiting for her to get released. All right, cool. Now, Andy tries to ask Danny for her advice about what she should do when it comes to this whole Gary and Robin situation. Because as we know, she saw the paperwork where Gary was up to something, but she doesn't exactly know, I guess, what he's really up to. And I'm like, well, if you would have took photos of the paperwork and if you would have actually read them, then maybe you would know what's going on, Andy. But I'm just kind of like, wow, Andy, you mean to tell me that you're actually questioning if you should tell Robin that Gary is up to something? Like, I understand that you're back hooking up with Gary, but at the end of the day, Robin has done a lot for you as well. I mean, I can't lie, both of these men have done a lot for Andy, but Robin just put up half the money for Sabrina, which he did not have to do. He could have just left her in jail. You know what I'm saying? But no, you won't tell him that this is what's going on? Like, I think that's kind of crazy if you don't tell Robin. And then also, it's not like Robin is going to go back and be like, oh, well, Andy told me this, that, another. Robin is far more discreet when it comes to business matters, way more than Gary and Hayden. So I'm not even understanding why she even questioned if she should tell Robin. Or am I crazy? Because I don't know, if it was me, I would definitely tell Robin what's going on with Gary. Because last time I checked, you're only back with Gary so that he doesn't sue you as well as take everything from you. So I'm trying to make it make sense. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and move on to this prosecutor and Maurice, because we finally see Maurice. Now, he doesn't even know why he's been arrested. The prosecutor plays the tape where he says, that him and Sabrina were behind it and behind the robbery. And he's like, anyone can tell that I was joking on that tape. Like, I wasn't being serious. The person who you need to have is Q. But the prosecutor doesn't want to hear it. The prosecutor basically told him, well, if you basically say that Sabrina is the one behind this, you'll get out scot-free. And of course, he's not going to go for it because he's friends with Sabrina, number one. Number two, we all know that Q is the one behind this. But the prosecutor, he keeps trying to shove this paperwork on Maurice so that he can go ahead and throw Sabrina under the bus. And speaking of Sabrina, she finally gets out of jail. And the first thing that she wants to do is go home, take a shower, and clean herself up, which I absolutely understand. I cannot imagine going to jail. I mean, at all. Like, I cannot imagine, especially for Sabrina's character. I can definitely expect that from her, even though Karen, of course, she still has her doctor's appointment and she wanted all the ladies there. Sabrina will not be there for that because she's going home. So again, the ladies are excited that she's home, and I'm glad that Sabrina's finally out of jail because I can't lie, I've sort of kind of been missing her on our screen. Okay, so then Zach, we get over to him. He goes to see the lawyer. Now, according to this lawyer, when it comes to him having these two different baby mamas, they both can, get him for a lot of child support. What I'm trying to understand is that last time I checked, child support was based off of your income. He ain't got no income, y'all. Zach don't have a job. The only income that he has is the money that he's collecting from his tenant. Or am I crazy? Like, I don't know how child support really work. I don't have children. But also, in California, clearly things work a bit different than it does in Georgia. Because I'm trying to figure out how will they be able to take half of his money when most of his money was like from a stock. Like, I didn't think that was a thing. Maybe somebody could clarify in the comments if that's how child support work. But I thought it was based off of your income, as in what you're bringing in monthly. But nonetheless, according to this lawyer, his baby mamas can take him for half of his money or even more. And of course, it is a problem for Zach because it's just adding on to the fact that, number one, they'll be taking half his money. But secondly, this adds fuel to the fire of Fatima not wanting to get married to him because his baby mamas will be taking half of their money. Well, actually, now that I'm rethinking this, if it's based off of income, they'll be taking most of Fatima's money because she's the only one with the real income. Or am I crazy? You know what? I don't have time to figure this out, especially not in Tyler Perry's world. Let's go ahead and move on. You know what? Let's hop on over to Karen's situation. So the girls end up finally showing up, but of course it was just Danny and Andy, and they're just waiting on these results, right? The doctor comes in, lets Karen know that, this baby was conceived on the 12th. She says, not the 19th. And she's like, it's possible, but this thing can be very accurate, so we're going to say it's the 12th. All right, cool. Y'all, who did Karen sleep with on the 12th? I can't even remember. Did she sleep with Aaron first or Zach? I can't even remember because that was a while ago. Y'all let me know in the comments who the baby daddy is. Please let me know. So, that pretty much was her storyline. Now let's hop on over to, what's her name? Sabrina. So Sabrina gets a phone call from Calvin. Calvin is happy that she's out of jail. She made bail, whoop-de-whoop. So he's like, yeah, because I'm so sick of Q. He's still at the apartment, all this stuff. So she's like, all right, I'm about to take a shower and I'm going to pull up on you. And he's like, no, I'll come and see you. She's like, no, I'm coming over there. So she goes to the apartment or whatever, to Maurice's place. And she's over here screaming at Q about how he needs to leave and this is all his fault and blah, blah, blah. Q is laughing in their face as he always does. I will say that I was quite annoyed that Calvin, he's over here listing off all the reasons why he can't put Q out, and it still doesn't make sense to me. He talks about how he can't even change the locks because he's just going to pick the locks, and he can't leave them there because he's going to steal everything. I'm like, this is a hot mess. Next thing you know, Sabrina ends up grabbing that golf club and decided to play whack-a-mole with him. But here's the problem. When she goes to swing at one point, he ends up grabbing her or whatever. So next thing you know, Calvin grabs the golf club, and then he starts swinging on, what's his name? Q. But I'm like, you mean to tell me this golf club has been here this whole time? Calvin, why didn't you do this earlier? Like, make that make sense. Nonetheless, Sabrina's now screaming because she doesn't want Calvin to kill Q, and that is where the story ends. I'm like, you know what? Please just get Q off of my screen at this point. I'm so tired of him. So if Calvin were to kill him, I would not even care. Alright, y'all, that was the end of the episode. Let me know what y'all thought about this episode. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I will talk to you guys in the next review. Bye, guys.